Hello, hello, Youest You listener. Welcome to 2022. This is Julie Reisler. I am so gratefully your host. I am a master life designer coach. I am author of the book Get a PhD in You, and I am also founder of the Life Designer Coach Academy. And I am so grateful to be here with you and help to usher in this new year together. I am really excited about this. Well, I'd say conversation, although it's with yours truly and you. It's just me and you together. But I'm excited about this topic. I want to talk all about looking at our ego from a whole new lens. And I am especially talking to those of you who are high empaths, which means that you feel and sense emotions, not just your own, but others around you. Often you can feel and sense others' feelings, maybe even what others are sensing. If somebody, for example, you find out a friend is has a breakup, you might feel that loss as well. So, for my high empaths, you tend to really take on others' emotions. And we're going to talk about how to really make sure you're taking care of yourself if that's you. Highly sensitive friends here, which just means a higher sensitivity to energy, to emotions, to your own emotions, to that around you in the world. And certainly, over this last year 2 years, it's been a really intense time. And I want to share with you, I've been so inspired by some of the works and readings that I have gratefully gotten to listen to and partake in and learn from over the last few months, especially recently. And I really want to talk about our ego. I want to talk about it from another perspective because if you're like me, I have done a lot of exploration, self, deep diving into how to be my best self, a lot of work with other teachers and people that are connected to different spiritual faiths and teachings. And, many times what you hear is that you need to really like either disassociate from your ego or that the ego is negative, that you shouldn't be connected to your ego, that it's bad. And one of the things I'm learning, my friend, is that we're either in one, I've talked about this before, we're either in one or two spaces. We're either in worry and fear or in love. And something about um not uh, being negative about my ego or not trying to associate with it or condemning it doesn't feel good to me, because in the end there's that anger and fear or that kind of negative vibration there. And I want to share with you, I have not yet booked her on my show, but I'm putting it out there. I really hope to at some point have Anita Morjani, who is just an incredible luminary and author. And for those of you who identify as an empath or sensitive or somewhere in between, I cannot recommend her new book enough. It is called Sensitive is the New Strong. It is phenomenal. And I want to talk about what I have been learning and really digesting from her book, as well as some other thoughts that have really come up for me that have just led to so much more calm and inner peace and a sense of wholeness. And my feeling is that that's truly, when we think about, we tap into, we feel into that idea of being your Youest You. Really that's about really being authentically you, right? Owning, loving all of you. There's another book. It's called Trust the Gold by Tara Brach. My dear friend, Reverend Francis, had given that to me for the holidays, and I've been reading it and I'm in love with it. And it also ties into what I'm going to talk about. Tara has been on this show. She is amazing. She's an expert in meditation and mindfulness. And the idea is that we really want to see that we're made of this goodness, even the ego. Okay. And so, what I'm not talking about here, for those of you who maybe have those in your life or know people that you could call egomaniacs or egocentric or narcissist, I'm not talking about that, over extenuated version of being attached to ego. But what I am talking about is for those of you like me who have struggled with being a people pleaser, doormat, worried about what others think, about conflict, about not wanting to rock the boat, when you can feel others' emotions and you might stop yourself from saying something because you can feel that would be upsetting to others. You know who you are, and I'm assuming if you're listening, you're probably like me, an empath and highly sensitive, and somewhere in that spectrum. And what Anita talks about, I love her definition and the way she dives into ego here. And I'm going to do my best to really share my interpretation, because when I was listening, I had this full body feeling of I've got to talk about this more. And it's part of the reason why I love this podcast and I love getting to connect with you and to have these conversations. And so I hope this is helpful. As always, take what you like and leave the rest. All right. So, what I want to look at is why your ego is actually a positive, important thing, and how to honor her or him or them, how to honor that part of you and not dismiss it, not get angry with it, but to invite it in. I'm going to share what I mean. And Anita gives a great overview and definition of how to look at this. So, especially for those of you that feel you're in the empath category, what we typically do is, if you think about the old school radios, or your car might still have those knobs that you turn to get the station or the volume. Most of us empaths, what we do is we come into this world with our consciousness knob turned way up. That is that deep connection to others. It's a gift. I've had this since I can remember, really in tune with other people, can feel their feelings, connect with them, feeling that heart connection. Often there's that deep knowing of oneness. So that connection, that consciousness knob is raised up. But what often happens is the ego. So, if for those of you, I was a psych major, if you studied psych or did Psych 101 and you remember way back when Freud talks about the ego, really the definition, one of the definitions can be it's that individuated realization of yourself. It's that realization that you are your own person. Now, that doesn't mean that it stops there, but for many of us, and I know myself is included, I often forget and lose the boundaries of myself because I get so involved with somebody else and what they're telling me that I can, times lose a sense of myself, my own feelings, my own boundaries, my own space. So I'd love to hear. Let me know. Drop a comment if you're listening or watching on YouTube, or drop a note in the Facebook community. Do you feel that way? If you've ever had a time where you feel like I'm so connected to that other person or what they're telling me, I might even feel those feelings. I might feel those feelings of sadness if there's a loss or breakup, or they're going through, a friend or someone's talking about something they're going through that's challenging, or joyful. Notice yourself. I often have to literally, like, hand on my heart, shake it off, make sure I go back into my body. What happens is most of us that are high empaths and highly sensitive, we dial down our ego, that individuated extension of ourselves. We are all unique, divine expressions of the greater cosmic intelligence, whatever you call it. So, what can happen is if you're so connected to being consciously and connected to all, you have this vast experience of yourself. What you might be missing is remembering that individuated, that singular experience. Now, many people, and you'll see this often with some of our leaders who have the opposite, where their ego is dialed way up, consciousness might be dialed midway down, different degrees. And so we're not talking about having your ego dialed all the way up and then your consciousness down. What I love that Anita talks about in her book, and I am putting it out there, I will be interviewing her at some point this year so we can really dive in with her. But what I took away is that what we are looking for is to have both knobs turned up. So that means having a really solid sense of self, of boundaries, of awareness of what works for you and your energy and what doesn't. This has been one of my greatest lessons. I think I shared this story earlier this year, the story of the miraculous turtles that reminded me, I tend to go at lightning speed for anyone out there who is a fire sign or manifesting generator in human design. Hey, love to you. I get it. And I have a perpetual like energizer bunny, energizer something going on inside that fire sign that's like go 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 go. So for me, I've got to always make sure to come back, to breathe, meditate, stillness, flow, a lot of water to remember. And you might be the same. I bet if you're listening, there's a similar aspect here, right? Of remembering to slow down, honor your energy. One of the things I learned, and I got this message and sign from remember the turtle I saw in the middle of the street? It was so crazy. This turtle was crossing the road in the middle of the road and someone stopped on the other side. There was no traffic, which made no sense. She came and picked up the turtle. And I asked her, how did you know how to do that? Like, thank you. And she was a turtle expert. This was one of the stories I shared. And I ended up seeing another turtle about 2 or 3 weeks later. I was going to a retreat at Omega where I got to meet Laura Lynn Jackson. And on the way, another turtle. This time I knew how to pick up the turtle carefully and move her. But what I really got as my message is turtle energy is slow and steady. And this year has been a total experiment in learning how to go slow and steady. Um, and I think for many of you, I know many of you have connected with me about this, being that turtle and tapping into that turtle energy. So part of connecting to your ego from a positive, from a loving place, keeping that knob dialed up on consciousness is honoring your boundaries, your energy, what has you feel alive and lit up, people, places, things, what gives you energy and what depletes it. And knowing that and honoring that, that is incredibly powerful, and it affects our greater energy, it affects our health, it affects our well-being, it affects the way that we're able to show up in our life. If I am not honoring my energy, and I'm telling you, my friend, I learned this way back when. I learned this in, a marriage that just really did not work for my energy. I learned this from my thyroid illness issue that I'm still thankfully healing from and doing really well, but like day to day can see if I'm not honoring my voice and my energy, I see it in my body. And I believe, we're so interconnected. We're not just a body, we're not just emotions, we're mind, body, soul. And to connect to your ego from a loving space rather than pushing it down or shaming yourself or feeling badly about having boundaries or feeling like you don't want to do something and you want to say no, this should be celebrated and honored. And I'm here to just share that perhaps this conversation will help remind you to turn that knob up. It's a healthy, crucial aspect to self care and to stepping into your authentic power and to your Youest You. So, for those of us that have struggled with the people pleasing realm, right? Think about dialing up your ego all the way up, which means that might mean hard conversations, saying no. When you mean no, telling someone lovingly, finding some language. And this is something, I've been coaching over 10 years. Thankfully, I've learned to manage my energy with my clients. That has been a big gift. It's taught me how to do this, and I've gotten better and better. It's actually one of the things I teach. I have a program where I teach how to coach and get certified, and we talk about this. We also talk about, right, how to ask yourself powerful questions, how to tune into what really is aligning for you. Many of us, myself included, go on autopilot or are conditioned to say yes. If you're like me, you might say yes often, sometimes when you mean no. And that has been a big gift of this last year, I know for me. And I know many of you have let me know practicing saying no, finding language that works. So language like, thank you so much. I so appreciate your input. I appreciate the suggestion. It works for me better to do it this way, or it works better for me to not participate, or it's more loving for me to take some time away. Whatever it might be, what I would encourage you to do is start to look at some language that's going to help you to stay in your energy and to say no when you mean so lovingly. Also, to say yes when you want to be included or to when it's a full-bodied yes, and to really get what helps to uplift you and protect and manage your energy so that you can dial your ego up to a healthy level alongside your consciousness knob. And that is a lot of what Anita talks about in her book, that Sensitive is the New Strong. It is so beautiful. It's so powerful. I highly recommend it. So you might start to think about, and she talks about this as well. I actually have talked about this in my book, Get a PhD in You. What gives you energy? What helps you feel like you can come back home to yourself? Make a list. I had a recent client, we did this, created a toolbox, an energy giving toolbox. I highly recommend it. Start the year off looking at, okay, so for me, I know the minute I get into nature, taking a walk, looking at the trees, feeling like I am one with something greater, getting in the bath, putting some salts in there, drawing. I just got myself some new colored pencils, getting a coloring book. Maybe it's swimming, talking to a wonderful friend, making a delicious, healthy, hearty meal, especially at this time of year. Like, really look at what brings you that sense of coming home to yourself. Another area that you've probably heard of, if you're into Louise Hay or any of the work around mirror work. I had Mel Robbins on earlier this past year, and in 2021, and we talked about high-fiving yourself in the mirror work, talking to yourself in the mirror, and really doing this in a way that's going to honor that feeling of security and grounding. So something that I've been practicing is saying, Julie, I'll sometimes speak to myself like third person, sometimes in the first person. I'll say, I am grounded, I am safe, I am secure, I am guided, and I am loved. That really helps me. And I do feel that. And it's like it just roots in my energy. So find those words that help you, that feel aligned. Look in the mirror. And maybe for you, it's saying, hey, I see you. You're guided, you're loved, you're provided for, you're grounded. Or maybe it's the first person, like what I just said. Adding that component of safety is often something I know for me and many of us empaths is really important to feel safe. So maybe it's just, I am safe, right? I'm safe and I'm loved. All is well. All is well. So I want to bridge for a minute. The other book that I've been reading is so beautiful. It's a short, quick read, amazing, amazing wisdom. Tara Brach is just, I love her. And she gets into, in this book, her book, Trust the Gold, talks about in the beginning this great story way back when there was a Buddha that was cracking, the cement was cracking. And as the monks were fixing it, they realized under the cracks was gold. The whole Buddha was cast in gold, but they had covered it to keep it safe. And so the idea is to remember we all are made of gold and to trust that and to feel your goodness, your goldness, your high vibrational goodness. And, creating some practices to do that. This is the year, right? Make this the year where you honor your energy, your goodness, your goldness, your Youest You. And that might be, I can't say it enough, meditation, daily meditation. Start with 5 minutes. I would love to hear what is working for you and what you are going to be really deciding to take on this year. It's so important. What I've realized and I'm learning on this path in my 47th year is that the more, often we were programmed to think it's selfish, right? To make time for yourself. But you can't be there for others or be of service at the level you want to be if you're not infusing love and energy and connection and heart back into yourself. So one of the most loving ways to be of service and to be there for your children, your partner, your family, your community, the world, is to honor you. And I'm just going to recap. That means think about it. Dialing up your ego in that sense of really getting clear of your individual self, your own boundaries. It does not mean that you're sitting in an island by yourself, because I'm telling you, if you're already an empath and sensitive, you can't help yourself. You're going to be connected no matter what. Now, if you're listening and you're like, yeah, I think I have the individuated ego up, great. Now you might look and see, how do I connect to humanity, go into that consciousness, dialing up that consciousness, which that consciousness dial is really about unity consciousness. It's about feeling that oneness, that divine connection to all. So maybe you're in that space, and that's fine too. Wherever you are, it's all good. What I want to just encourage you to do is really to look and see how you can stop being at war with yourself, how you can start to love and honor all of you. One of the things Tara says in her book is she talks about this challenging health scare she had, and she was in the hospital on IV drip. This is somebody who practices mindfulness, and she said what she remembered is to just to really be kind to herself, put her hand on her heart, and she reminded herself, sweetheart, just be soft around the edges. And I just want to remind us all, sweetheart, be soft and gentle and gracious with yourself around those edges. Um, and remember that you and you're doing the best you can. It is not about perfection, it doesn't exist. But my question to you is, how might you really tap into your gold, your greatness, your goodness this year? How might you allow for that to sparkle and shine, and to really project into the world? How might you allow that to happen with more flow, with more ease, with more grace and more joy? I am curious. I would love to know. That is my wish and my blessing for you, as it is for myself, and would love to hear what you got from this, how you're going to be allowing yourself to dial into that individuated expression and your consciousness. So, dialing up both the ego and the consciousness knobs. How are you going to be softer with yourself? How are you going to really allow yourself to be connected to your deeper inner calling? And I must say that I know if you're here, I know you are, I know it. You're somebody with a big vision and a really important purpose here. You wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be attracted to one another here in this space. So I just encourage you, my friend, don't underestimate what the divine has in mind and in heart for you. And if I can be here to support you in any way, please let me know, because I truly do believe that whatever it is that you are, that deeper heart calling and soul nudge, there is a deeper purpose and an expression that wants to come through you as you. And I'm a stand for all of us self-expressing like that. And that, my friend, I believe will turn the knob up of the consciousness of our planet. So remember to be kind. And as Tara said, sweetheart, be soft around your edges. Be gracious. Remember to stay in that space of heart and flow, and that you are a divine expression. I love you. Thank you for tuning in. And I cannot wait to be on this 2022 journey with you.
Recording stopped.